Why on yours? I have my USB. I mean,
what? Yeah, that's right. Myself.
No, it's fine.
Students at UFC.edu?
UF. I shot.
Oh, shot. I mean, my hair would have been better. Classic procedure out of dude. Good times.
It's so weird that like we're reading like.
Yeah, different progress and everything.
I think I'm gonna debate someone I debated at C before and something.
Yeah, that's happened to both of us. Yeah.
Y'all had different.
Yeah, I had a team that we didn't go to see together last year. I had a team last round.
Oh, that's so funny. Where's she at? How's she doing?
So she's doing good. She's debating with Sarah McMillan Beckham.
Okay.
So and yeah, they're doing their thing. I think they're either one or two. I think
Y'all two right now?
yeah.
Who'd you hit?
We did CCCC something. I don't even remember what the was on for.
CN. Constant name.
No, that's
CCA. No. Other.
hold on. DR.
DR.
Yeah, and then we did Wyoming HT. So
What's that, 100? No, that's not cool. I'm cool with one of the Wyoming debaters. We judged in the panel together at CFL last year, and we just talk the whole time. Just like we're hanging around Chicago.
yeah, that's the best kind. It's just like when you can
just hang out.
Yeah,
It's like us, it's like me, him, Marquise.
Send out the test.
Yeah, I did that last time. That's good. But we can have something. Oh, something might happen here next time.
Hey, Brian, you can talk about this. Okay, did everyone get the test?
My Wi-Fi actually doesn't want to cooperate right now.
Stop using Firefox.
Wi-Fi is not a problem. Thank you.
Firefox is.
Yeah, I need it. Y'all jump. Yeah, can I get a jump?
Do you have the flash?
I don't have. I can get me.
I might have one of my other.
It's not, but it's being slow because I just yeah, I think that's How you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the test either. I haven't gotten the test email either.
You haven't gotten it either? Okay.
Well,
We got lemon games.
yeah.
Yep.
We got a couple.
We oh yeah, I'm how's it going?
One's up one, the other's two.
Okay. Because it said that two of them were rejected because I put it in incorrectly. It was yours and yours, I believe.
Oh, Sean.
So-
Can I just look at the names? And see
Yeah.
what happens?
Actually, can you just type it in?
Yeah.
Sorry, my laptop's just like.
Live stream is just booming right now.
Huh?
The live stream is just booming right now.
Oh, yeah,
So many
definitely.
We've got
Super
4
exciting.
people in the country.
Yeah, it's like 2 high school Georgetown fanboys, and that's it. Where's AM? Where's AM?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Oh.
His was right, mine was incorrect.
You got my name right?
We have equally difficult names.
Nah, people have at least heard of Castillo before.
We have nearly the same name.
And that they're both overseas, yeah, sure.
And not if you pieces like ours.
One thing I understand.
We can put a CA.
Yeah, so nice. Yeah, I
And
think
vowel. Urban. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm gonna resend the test. So everyone gets that. Good. Is the live stream going?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Fascinating.
I'm waiting for you, Lucas.
Y'all did a job?
No, I didn't have my jump back.
Rise up and
Brian, you got it?
Yeah.
You know everything. Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll let you know if the internet works, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
So I realized now that I do have my headphones and I have my iPad charger, I just still don't have an aux cord.
Okay, you just forgot the most important thing.
Yeah, basically.
I'm good there.
I'm always charging the $15 here. Once you take it on my card, and always leave it.
I left it, there's something on the couch or something. I even looked at it and I was like, I need to grab that.
Do you know where this is? That's where I got those cards. All of our video were like, when you're I don't even use it. Not the full tournament I made it for this, but.
All the work we tried to do.
Yeah. Here you go.
How many you have?
No, yeah. Here's, yeah. Need it this time. Hold it, right?
It's fine. Can I have this?
Yeah.
So is anyone not ready? All right? You got it?
We're good to go. Sorry, thank you.
Then let's start. Go.
You know what I've been hearing this year? Hey, legalize weed. It's racist to criminalize it to start with, for sure. But what about, hold up, young buck, don't go off the rails here. How about prostitution? We shouldn't be targeting women's sexualities anyway. Yeah, that's fine, but fix online gambling. You know, the is talking about it. Criminalizing chaos is the worst. No step. We shouldn't punish people for selling organs. Maybe we should go the Texas route and legalize PSA. Can't let people for being punished for wanting to live. No, let's fight back here. No, this is the strategy. But the resolution says, but the mechanism is, what about being untouchable? You know what I'm saying in response? Let me say to everyone, the goddamn marathon longs. Fuck the resolution. We've been able to use the resolution to realize the prison system unjustly locks some bodies, but still, the resolution is asked the bandits to find the next best way to lock people up by giving the prison reviewability to allow them to make minor reforms. Instead, we must recognize that the penal system has become the prison industrial competence used to uphold the illusion of removing solving social problems that are grouped together for the category of crime when all of us lock people in cages, Davis and 98. And prisons become this once many social problems burdened by people scoring poverty. The problems have become grouped together in the category of crime and criminal behavior people call problems disappear from public view. When human beings relegated Canada to cages, prisons do not disappear problems. They disappear human beings. The practice of disappearing the vast number of people from poor immigrants and other communities has become a business where prisons disappear human beings to pay the solution to solve the problems of penal structure must be created to accommodate rapidly swelling populations, gave people goods, and services must be provided. Sometimes the population will get busy enough time to deprive of all intellectual field and correct space maintains food, military industrial complex. Structural similarities in military production and public punishment penal system can now be characterized as the prison industrial complex. And so, who disappears? We've been taught to regard the prison as a savior from the spectrum of rather bodies being criminal by society writ large. The prison industrial complex is the mad dog of structural violence. This is Davis in 98. Almost 1 million people come out to the United States of prisons. More than 70% of people call the fast-growing prison population of Black and Native Americans to be proud prisoners, the largest group per capita. 5 million people are under surveillance and criminal justice system. All women constitute a relatively small percentage of the number of incarcerated women in California, so twice the nationwide prison population was mentioned in prison. The government will be present in society unparalleled by any industrial democracy, short of major work, mass concentration. Has been the most implemented social program of our time. The political economy versus relies on racialized assumptions of criminality, such as black vote for mothers, reducing criminal justice, racist practice, and arrest convictions, sentences, and powerful bodies. Constitute the making of opportunity the experiments of disappearing major social problems of our time don't ignore magic stripped away from the imprisonment solution was revealed with racism, violence, and capitalist profit in prison, in the industrial system, maintaining the moral and poverty inhabitants, and develop social law needed to address the very problems that led to the spiraling number of prisoners. And police state racism and terror law orders are measures are predicated on ontological security that coalesces on the risk to populations, accumulated individualization, and extermination of whole populations is vilified. The temporal disorder through the mechanism of security level security becomes sole criteria for the activities and utilization of cultural security close around risk of state, which as security is sole task most important from terrorist security comes to end. In a police state, terror based on law and order measures, the bicultural race racism and bringing the precondition for the right to kill racism, functions by establishing bicultural war measures maximum that in order to live, you must destroy your enemies. Killing becomes acceptable. Enemies to be done away with the hostages and trouble for us. Once the state functions about power, no race will justify the murders. Once the state because the racism is bound to go work as the state is the obliged to use race elimination, race and race exercises sovereign power security. People inside society will run the security mechanisms and democracy are reconcilable. Political negotiation neutralize society creating challenges to existing political arrangements. Becoming irreconcilable. The political society is a zero definitely to the whole politics of political life with full interrogation as meaningful criteria for decision making. And the U.S. prison system is a foundational technology used to carry out globalized white supremacy. Prison abolition is fundamental. We are to combat white supremacy and discrimination with non-human global scale. Rodriguez no way. White supremacy, social and economic, cultural formation, organic, the U.S. will constitute ongoing emergence of American and human countries and white supremacy must be understood as the logic of social organization reproduces, regenerated, institutionalized, and most right constitutes of hierarchies human difference. White supremacy is based on the notion of white human vis-a-vis the penal system and frequent neutralization of determination of the non-white subhuman or non-human prison regime. Globalization of white supremacy is the logic of social organization that globalization of white supremacy is a specific formation of how it produces. The U.S. prison regime is a modality of power which is the U.S. prison is a technology of cultural lines that draws from white supremacy as a substructure of national formation, civil society building, and globality. Thus, Brian and I advocated abolitionist pedagogy in response to the topic. Articulating what abolitionists worship the pedagogy of dismantling the police and prison apparatus and abolitionist pedagogy opens a political intellectual imagination that makes liberation possible. This record isn't that. Building an abolition pedagogy entails the dismantling the historical understanding of the police and prison apparatus. Police and prison apparatus are very recent creations that are addressed institutional force equalization and support for a massive scale. Prison are full like a historical chain of genocidal protest mobilizations of great states to the abuse of the prison regime is neither from the structural institution and historical inseparable from structures of larger state or racist dark larger scale racist state violence. The pedagogical structure conveys discussion about responsibility that things the critical dialogue is necessary to continue the long historical struggle against land conquest, slavery, racial colonialism, and imperialist war. Discussions take place within the larger temporality of the communities whose liberation struggle liberation struggles. Students and teachers speak radical truth under this understanding that they are part of the historical record they move from an abolition positionality is challenging due to function to stubborn default position to liberal formism as the only feasible electoral response to reactionary violent racist form of state power resistance to engaging out in structural directly with symmetrical cultural display the political intellectual imagination that makes a liberation dream of people. This is reduced to economics and cultural apparatus with social compact through the pragmatic preparedness organizations movements that would produce the political limitations of non-profit complex abolition social imagination. It requires that repression of political intellectual imagination be fought, be mystified, and displaced. And reform only serves to strengthen the prison complex Rodriguez intent. Reform of the prison requires some effective manipulation. Reform of the prison requires with astronomical growth and new prison structure out the incarceration release outrage against federal deaths and severe psychological suffering to the peaceful incorporation of medical facilities and staff of the prison as opposed to addressing mass incarceration inherently creates circulating to sickness. Reform is recognition of the carceral state violence against the emotional disorder mentally of the state and disabled captives led to the creation of new prison regimes and foreign school regimes for the criminally insane. The prison industrial complex is one of the most significant reformist achievements in U.S. history. Its roots and substance are fundamental to the American liberal progressive compulsory reform and institutionalized state rather than abolishing. And prisons are not just specific sites; they're hegemonic in the way that we think that to trust the system to be able to lock up the right people is naive. The rush to legal solutions ignores the epistemological nature of the prison. It's not enough to attack the prison as a site, but rather we must undermine its epistemological and ontological foundations. Dylan 13. The social result must be under the total ontological during the force of balance subject to reduce the racial state method to bridge the conduct of the future of the world that the person would need to end as well. The righteous and subject to everyday life, the free work method to replicate the experience of incarceration room of all the prison of the future to receive the person deal of emerge from these two symbiotic positionalities of the future of the prisoner. Invisible things become learning acts to log it in. It was always invisible, become strange and unfamiliar running. Way forms attacking the talents of power, the neoliberal culture thing is also open to new forms of knowledge and politics. They are always driving to prove that all forms of knowledge and constitute racial thing comparison by the prison. That are normatively new formations called capital. There might not be a way out. That doesn't mean that you have to stay put. I stand advancing my life. My hands hungry to hold people. The eyes can get enough of the trees. There's a hopeful, so green. I can't smell the medicines. The carnation looks nearby. It is this way. Being captured is besides the point. The point is not to surrender. The prison then must exceed the institution. The fugitive can lead the way. Even if escape is impossible, we still have to run. And the Betas is not trying to build the next best prisons. We want to find new ways to lock bodies up and ignore the invasion of the prison industrial complex. To have effective abolition, we need to identify the many relationships between the prison industrial complex and tear those relationships apart of the data so free. If prison can be abolished, what should replace them? This is question and wants consideration for abolition. Why should it be so difficult to imagine alternatives? We are thinking the current system with its attention to prison is the only unconditional standard. We must have the difficulty envisioning any other way out. Even the anti-death penalty campaign contends with the assumption that life in prison is the most radical alternative to capital. Why? So we should have a conscience of the way the campaign capital punishment, and of authority to calculate the prison's economic form of punishment. And critical engagement would invoke against the death penalty abolition, with the prison abolition focus very optically on the existing system. This is the problem that leads to the assumption that imprisonment is the only alternative to death. It is hard to imagine structuring some system capable of ending such vast population law to be such to shift our attention away from the prison to the set of relations that compromise the prison complex. It might be easier to think of alternatives. The first step would be to let go of the desire to discover one single alternative for system of punishment that would occupy the same footprint as the prison. The prison system has become increasingly scored an economic, political, and ideological life of the U.S. and transnational trafficking in the U.S. economic culture society. The prison industrial complex is a set of symbolic relationships among correctable community transnational corporations, needed the Columbus governments, and military coordinated the most effective abolition strategies for contesting relations for proposed alternatives to pull them apart. Abolition's approach would require us to imagine a constellation of alternative strategies, institutes, policy, and incorporation as our overreaching strategy to envision a continuum of alternatives to imprisonment, demilitarization of schools, and revitalization of education at all levels, and health system that provides food physical and mental care to all, and injustice system based on reparations and reconciliation rather than retribution and vengeance.
Okay. Cross eyes.
Ready?
Yeah.
Great. I vote affirmative.
The at one I see is me and Brian rejecting the resolution. We think if we win the resolution is bad, you should vote F to endorse a prison abolitionist pedagogy, which is what you should frame our rejection of the resolution through. We say that the resolution necessarily forces a continuation of the prisons by A, allowing us only ever to talk about the topic areas but never actually attacking the prison. B, by being able to let us buy into like the liberal reformism, which both are Dylan evidence and our Rodriguez evidence and our Davis evidence all say it's bad to keep the prison. And say that the prison is a tool of civil society.
I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
The next question. Okay, what is abolitionist pedagogy? Do you defend abolishing all prisons, or what?
No, because that's not what an abolitionist pedagogy is. That's explained by our Rodriguez evidence after our advocacy. Rodriguez says an abolitionist pedagogy is the pedagogy is what is the rejection of the narrative of prisons being here to protect from violence and putting it in the context. Putting it in the context of a tool of violence.
I'm sure you explain that. What is the significance of the 1AC to say, hey, we should endorse it?
Because I don't know about you, but I think
did
that
not
it's pretty
finish
messed
the
up the white
question.
supremacy structures of the prison. That's what I think
Oh,
the
wait,
importance is. I do not want to say that the prison or police are good things. Why? Because fuck the police.
Why? Because you didn't let me answer your question. Where's where I'm going? What was the significance of the 1AC in saying we reject the topic because it sustains the prison industrial complex, and then refusing to defend the endpoint of like abolishing prisons?
Because our Rodriguez evidence, which is the one that discussed prison abolition right after the advocacy, explains this. It says it's key for students in the classroom to be able to reject the notion that the prison is either.
Your Rodriguez evidence says you don't have to defend the endpoint of
B.
your ask. What part of your Rodriguez evidence says this? What line?
Our Rodriguez evidence doesn't say affirmatives in policy debate don't have to be able to defend endpoints. Our Rodriguez evidence says that we have to be able to reject the starting point that the resolution gives us, instead endorsing a prison abolition pedagogy, which is the only approach that we can be able to have.
Next question. Where do we go from there? We've rejected prison.
Our last Davis evidence is actually really on fire on that question. It says that exact question we just asked is terrible because all it does is just wrap prison abolition momentum. But either way, the bottom of that same Davis
let me just finish straight before
social justice.
Let me clear this up for the one that's the other. So asking how we would go about abolishing prisons is a bad idea, a bad question to ask when faced with the question.
Yeah, as I said, Davis has two arguments. The last Davis card has two arguments. First, that when we try to be able to put our focus on the thing that comes after, we're never able to fight the prison now. The second is saying that even if that isn't good enough, our social justice method is able to fill in and solve.
So how do you carry on social justice when you don't defend a method for doing so, other than like you read 1AC and said no?
Look, we think that if we win the fact that the resolution is bad and we shouldn't endorse it, and that our prison abolition pedagogy is net better than
so what good is a pedagogy when you don't tell students how to go past the?
You're right. We're not Congress. We're not pretending to be Congress, and we're not pretending to be able to pass a reform. Our argument is that that sort of logic is what's bad.
So, should I email it? And,
We should just flash it.
okay.
Are we just flashing the front? It's cool if we are.
What?
Are we just flashing the
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my internet is working, but it could just go dead at any time.
Do you have
That's
it?
cool. That's something that's a bunch.
I mean, if you email us, see if I did it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try
Is there anything called that?
No, that's
that. Is it? Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna attach from one I see to that.
I mean, I got your ones.
You got it?
I mean, yeah. Oh, it's, you got the email?
Yeah, I have it.
I don't know this now.
I attached the one I see to the email chain because we just flashed it in the beginning.
Okay, so I'm just gonna jump it because, yeah.
We should be good regardless of where we go.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get that.
It's gonna be too often in case.
I mean, the camera's there. So it's fine. Wait, so you didn't attach the?
What?
I don't see the I don't know.
It's in. It's right there.
That's it.
Can we use your stand?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, this is good.
What?
This is good. All right, yeah, this is good.
Thank you.
Interpretation and violation of affirmative defense is desirability of legalization of multiple top areas. This is declared nowadays says legalize means to make lawful by judicial and legislative sanction, to make it lawful judicial by legislative sanction. And most predictable, the agent and verb indicate a debate about hypothetical government action action 3. Each time you name the action should be about verb action or just action should mean put policy next to government means effective is what something will often occur. And this is not mandate any style of evidence or assumption about the role of the judge, only that the resolution determines what arguments justify an affirmative ballot. And prefer interpretation for cases of general subject is enough debate requires a specific court of difference in order to promote effective exchange. Basically, means something different from the numbers we could debate, reference agreements, only for opportunity to debate, there's no fashion by this proposal of debate, debate could produce for decisions like there, no negative question, then considers just by conversation and topic disagree, like they don't know how to because of the particular question, identification, like the party says, to be about all efficiently, because the music messages all parties share understanding about objectives, this enables specific comparison of country, argumentation, leading different decision together, same results in court decisions, of course, argumentation occurs with debate, setting may not have many of the promise question bar, but debate parts of the decision, opposition provides focus on that's the decision, opposition occurs with the essential guidance for practical concerns for this basic opposition, and opposition, discussions agree about the time for the solution guide, social policy discussion, still no problem discussion over the focus to deal with problem of form, it is something that different difference for some city for decision making and progress better than the organization, facilitate effective decision making, majority and listening to the decision, basis of the argument should be ability to find top of topic like the interesting system about the argument, basis of the debate of the basis for the argumentation and general so we still depends on the debate or avoid creative interpretation debate over communicators, human very engaging debate, so they can get guidance from practices figure out what a different band. Institutional focus and community political demands are necessary to create effective coalitions which best to challenge the hegemonic order. Move 9. There's some political data to go not from sphere organization experiences, politics, traditional politics, and here they press to develop it, follow up, some autonomy, state, and policy, public, every time we know what's sort of challenge one counter to practices for the generation of environmental staff, includes the national government, political, regional side of present possibility of returning attendance in the society, policies, demands for economy, new forcing them to refer to new control use of form of distribution, to refer to economic use of conditions, and alignment of utilization, possible resolution demands which can conflict with order of reporting, but it's system which actually South Korean way to cause service controls radical policies under no choice of practice of harder challenge them chooses stability the government for process authority regulation laws with the interest writing and reading versus having the state sees involving the apparatus of generation can be transformed for the way in reality or is perfectly willing to control politics system so responsive techniques of the probably political intervention one of the engage with a certain aspect of distinct hegemony can never be able to hear their position assertion important and subs and language between various ways transforming the claims of challenge that existing sort of partners involving the internet is the demands like societies are conflict typically with the creation of the will be higher to practice of not knowing things other ways and low differences coming together with against common advocacy are going to define problems and by problems and settings which is upon the particular concerns the questions of states institutions or government practices that challenge constructive political dynasty depending upon the specific relation practices for transform or conditions when you had dominion select for access to politics because you get more position public coming together from region interest and role playing debate role playing specifically activates agency and hog 8. Being provided politics and rules such global forces again and teaching the dialogue philosophy of explanation by the games to evolve the players expected experience imagine scenario inside the players for the last to reflect the fundamental aspect of human understanding and interaction that release individuals become a breach of understanding having all those ontological process ideological becoming just like the debate terms about the students in the process becoming anonymous as well, also becoming articulate responses and just for a student, scholars need to speak the language of policymakers, key to public engagement, new perspectives and peace, lock and fire. Individual approach to social analysis, given meaning that languages is accompanied by the declining influence of social scholars that should be for policy and media, prepare about these public scholars and others same languages policymakers. As the evidence no longer filling the issue agenda as well, the policies are only supporting the demand of policies for writing things advocated for extreme limiting would be adopted, which these people call for a division of deep and military voices in academia and opposition pieces of well attention talking offer Middle East US policy for exclusively to increase scholars. These are Canadian perspective. This is a Middle East and global room of foreign policy peace, found peace, democracy, rights, and non-intervention. And next file. Their methodology of prison abolition pedagogy leaves a place in the capitalist system, prisons of oppression to deny value to life and make the actions like final solutions possible. Only through a complete rejection of capitalism is liberation possible. Those victorious we do. Here's laughing into mechanism, the summer billion sending a capitalist machine, the sons of your side, all when we case every ruin ended, and investments of desire, nothing with the subject ideology, these kind of very ends and meaning the world time of capitalism, customs, find the truth, the end of peril, and despite the terror, groups of living realities, but execution, cause constantly hard to reproduction of capitalism improvements in the center, displays the hardest for the expectation for the subject of perfect, also multiple entities of populations that are also factories, prisons, some prisons, they are prisons, and capitalism causes inevitable crises, inequality and dehumanization, both make it to endorse a class-based critique of the system, pedagogical spaces are the crucial staging ground for keeping socialism on the horizon, McGuire and Denal before. The referendum alternative investment countries where the system of post-market forces is should refuse to affect the track for capital, many made left capitalism law, reflect the suicide of people with alternative global social conditions of capitalism. Unfortunately, I've seen concentration of wealth created worldwide and affluence of the human institutions, 2.8 billion individuals, $250 million wages. These realities require events for critique of capitalism. Marxist fundamentalists in class society how true collective social division society moving on and therefore politics difference prior challenging questionable just from the classic core radical pedagogy for capitalism frameworks to express our social global understandings and client just and into the significant class analysis based first role applies only for different agency issues ethnicity race ethnicity gender people identities common frameworks are rooted in political economy that runs with it and capitalism movements of the US and all current part of history movement the relevance of social economic politics and volume consideration capital synthesis most motivated democratic social justice the practice of capital such as features good for alternatives and on case. Affirmative Latino incarceration and immigration is replacing the war on drugs as the primary source of prison, Cold War 14. Mass incarceration beginning to increase the target of Latinos, second counting of immigrants that goes to Chile, and necessities that's what you read about relations about performing in the opening in the market for just often since lobbying for harsh immigration while funding system, stopping independence detentions of public on second phase of mass incarceration while the immigration of just jobs and African Americans are being focused on those political agendas are trying to increase the number of people on hard bars. And that destroys broader movements against incarceration, Cold War 14. First and foremost, official ability to use the most really impacted African Americans in the problem within the media opposition and immigration losses, emergence of local connection teams supports the African American community and California support for African American criticism and awareness and ethical individual orientations don't do anything overwhelming empirics. Your alternative just creates a palliative where you can feel radical because you are pessimistic, but in reality you're keeping legal power in the hands of violent prohibitionists. Pew 10. European elections, transnational voting, and history heralded of continent white just radical custom to left is leading power in the hands of right radicals too often they celebrate the ethical individuals of radical forces, providing representation programs and radicals and imposing for being first approaches are individuals and personal zones to the collective movement to radical suicide demonstrating ethical acts and personal statements of awareness, trying to ethics to reflect the lack of agency power right will not go away without awareness of that ultimate ethical life sources when you should stay the soft and close to the this only forces the ethical individuals collective conservative forces in society today. And racial progress has occurred through legal change and more in the area of drug laws is still possible. Reject pessimism because it ignores specific reforms that achieve lasting reductions in racial inequality, only 13. Purposes in the U.S. appears that permanent is dismissed important of reforms of the destruction of structural oppressions that find the society who disagree the U.S. is capable of being influenced more exclusive policies where racial dominance has been the key to U.S. streams to try to consideration policies since the civil rights to overinflate the change rabbis and birds in the world that persists the equality to the wild but right with all that begins to the limit with right to achieve the U.S. conditions that seems some reforms for reversible some part forces in which it's essentially serving to our forces of rights and immigration after legislation all of the U.S. racial team towards significant ways part of partial victory is the racial state for reducing place was across social society most part of accomplishment as was a race demanded not only inclusion of racial defined others to deal with the marxism or structured racist acts of recognition validation of the state society of racial defined identities these demand broad independent democracy really develop contributed ideology color violence will transform the character point knowledge by the cutting out border by the race you're the particular incarceration has to be under racism, you can political inclusion, we're considering up to incarceration, and you can the practical authors with different purposes, incarceration, and political issues not in the dimensions of the U.S. regime that reproduce racial reform can transfer again, but it's not to be found. This racial conflict is one of the political and values of racism, evidence people calling on the powers, and more increase in racial equality and racial opposition increases towards racial challenges of white racial community, both within the state and civil society, movements to experience effects of racial solidarity and psyche equality abides. And engaging with formal notions of political is good. Affirmative frameworks for narcissistic disengagement with political pragmatism. This means we produce the best pedagogy Chandler said. We love the engaging formal public representation with stereotypical policies. This type is highly individualized. Personal statements more important than attempts to engage politically deciding people more concerned with Christians and community than political debate. When necessary to get political differences organizational approach. Especially under serious following social change, radical political activists face the form of social disengagement that excellence individuals with deep demonstrating personal commitment and purposeful engaging ethical global questions like the internal history driven by necessary research and more and more people doing politics academic work. There's dangerous and one day firms which have been focusing on the world uses conservative problem solving for people's outcome becomes a process which will gain the advocacy that arguments and focus on finding our own ethical frameworks and biases, position on creating and teaching world affairs process becomes research rather than research. Ready?
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the top of the case, the two Kilgore cards that make the argument first that mass incarceration is a tool of violence that is used against Latinos, and secondly, saying that we need to be able to stop it. How is this not an add-on advantage for the F?
Okay, well, we say that you're focused on the prison industrial complex itself ignores the other forms of prisons that exist, such as
Okay, so we in the app straight up say the words, the prison is not a specific site, it's ontological, and it's in the way that we think. So how can we possibly do that?
Because in cross-sex you refuse to defend prison abolition, so you don't get to claim the advantages of like
Whoa.
being abolished.
Exactly. My question was, we say the prison isn't a specific site, it's in the way that we think. Our affirmative says that we need to be able to get it out of the way that we think through prison abolition pedagogy. So again, how do we mask?
We'll make the argument that the framework, our framework interpretation of law would solve for this, and then you don't. We have very specific sets to your method of like.
Okay, so your framework.
Legal
Okay, then let's talk about the next evidence that you read, actually. Let's take that down to the only evidence. You say that it's getting better, like prisons are getting better. So our Rodriguez evidence that says reformism is bad in the 1AC says that we've created basically this huge ableist prison regime. This card about only says that things are getting better for black people. Is it getting better for disabled bodies?
This card talks about how political movements and legislation in general terms has the
No,
ability
it talks
to...
about it very specifically to racial politics and the war on drugs. Now, are things getting better for disabled bodies?
This card would argue that if legislation has the potential to transform conditions.
Why? Why does racial progress for black people mean that ableism is
Our argument is that legal reformism is a more productive method than the affirmative, and that I think things like making legislation that forces people to be more accessible to disabled bodies.
Let's talk about that.
It should be foreclosed.
Let's talk about that legal reformism. Name one instance, just one law, anywhere in the country where someone passed it that shrunk the size of the prison.
Okay, I don't think we need to be restricted to the whole history of legal
Whoa. How then, my next question is, you can't name one time where legal reformism solved the harms of the app, why is framework
that's like inherency, like you're saying that because it has never been done, it can never be done. It's obviously
so you're saying though it's never happened before, and we have specific evidence.
Yeah, racist black people in the 1700s didn't.
So why? So
then my question I don't know what it implies to us.
Okay, so my question is this then. So why, after every reform that we specifically cited in the 1AC has failed to make the prisons bigger, should we hold out hope that one day the prison will stop?
Well, okay, I think the question of debate is not whether we can. Obviously, neither of
that's
us think that prisons are like good.
The
question is, how do we go about reforming the prison system? You say no to it. We say, learn how to engage the political, actually learn about the skills that would enable you to actually one day step out of this debate space and actually do something about it.
We have 10 seconds left. Give me one good reason why we should wait for liberal reformism to work.
It's not like a thing that's like, the point is that our model of debate would teach us how to like
so
not
we
have
as
to
individuals will actually go out and be able to solve.
We think we provide a skill set that would enable us to do that, yes, whereas you do nothing.
I actually have one, we're gonna run prep, I have one more question. At the point where we say that the resolution is always already structuring so the prison is the dominant form of power, how do we ever learn to like fight back against the prison?
The 2 and 2 will be handled. We will say that we can use legalizing like a tolerance app, like legalizing marijuana as a good starting point for abolition.
Okay.
And we'll defend that.
All right.
Y'all ready?
Yep, we're at like 9:35 right now. Count it.
Yep. That's on the radar. I'll give you guys. Make sure you pull this house.
Yeah, okay, good.
How much prep?
16 left. Sorry.
Did you get an email?
No, actually, can you start first real quick? That'd be good. No, this first one, right?
Yeah, you can read either, but. Something you're doing. Okay, 7:59. Yep.
I feel like we should just like blast Kendrick in between like these dead zones. So
So the people back home.
people can hear it.
I actually, Kendrick is strangely one of the few artists that I'm hesitant to blasting, because unlike Super the Rep and I don't think Kendrick, he can make good blasting songs, but his music is always already so deep.
And it's not intended for blasting, yeah. I've
Yeah,
read
exactly.
about how like people treat it as like a monumental like hood ornament that people can play songs like club bangers, whatever, when it's meant to be like an artifact.
Yeah.
You ever blast J. Cole?
Oh yeah.
No, I was blasting J. Cole like
Wait.
within the first half of the season, which is all J. Cole, like from Cali onward.
I think I saw you on Spotify like play GMD like 8 times in the big round.
That might have happened. We might have just had it on repeat.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I know. And they walked in and we were just like.
I think y'all listen to much rap. Y'all like rap?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like.
Who are you playing right now?
Early I was playing Logic.
Okay.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I'm playing it now.
He's like a friend of John Jamie's.
I could definitely like
He like every other song shouts out John. Like he has
He's
almost
the only dude who shouts out challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the only
But
one.
did you catch the
I
killer mic shout
Yeah,
out? On the
Digital
Politics?
Mike would be platinum. Yeah.
He would be. Yeah, I was also blasting on the jewelry.
I saw it about it.
Yeah, it's out. So Robbie, for you, it's gonna be, there's gonna be app, there's an overview on the app framework and the app. I mean, yeah, it's not,
You can give him the.
I'm just gonna, I have to.
Yeah, but if it really isn't working for you, we can always just like start flashing it.
Nah, it looks like my email is like, hey, I got it. Thanks, man.
Can you save it?
Yeah, I'm gonna send
My
it.
email.
Yeah, I think my email's just running down slow. I just got it.
I got it too.
I got it. Let's just download one MC again. Yeah, that happened.
Do you want me to save it?
No, I got it. You said case T case? Or critique? Yep.
Yep.
The app is a rejection of the topic frame through a prison abolitionist pedagogy lens. The small step liberal reformist approach to the resolution takes has empirically shown to only expand the prison industrial complex or result in regulatory regimes to just create new things to criminalize. This is not an accident, but rather an insidious effect of the ontology of the prisons. The structure of the resolution, they're always working to get students to accept it as a savior from violence. Prisons don't solve violence. Prisons are tools of violence only. And an abolitionist pedagogy put the prisons in a larger temporality of state violence and refuses to make it better. They say that they have this argument about mass incarceration of Latinos first. We no link second. No link. We do not want mass this. We say that mass incarceration is bad for a second. I would say that the absolute bad for this. We are a movement against mass incarceration. Obviously, we are both the prison abolition act. They say, they say that the racial progress has occurred, and that you should reject pessimism. It's not our app is not about whether or not racial progress has occurred, but whether or not liberal reformism works in the context of prisons. This is empirically been shown to not work, even if the prisons have gotten marginally better for black people. One, it's still pretty fucking bad. And two, it is really bad for everyone else. They say that individual action is not enough, but ontology, the questions of ontology must come first. It's key to political challenge, to challenge the status quo rationality to describe in six the goal of ontological political must take participation. There's no return path in politics. There's counts for the people or the charge of lacking of a political program and ontology is inspired to motivate political actors. Ontology is become embedded by the credo of those who adhere to the meditates philosophy and politics as an aesthetic of sensibility, copy, rationalize, and go to framework. Newsflash! Welcome to the People's Tournament, where fairness is made up and the rules don't matter. We do not meet their interpretation. They have chosen to become the prison guard. Their interpretation commands complicity with the carceral system. You should vote affirmative, independent, because their use of voting issues of punishment paradigm. Because we broke the laws of good debate. We have 9 minutes of impact terms. This problem solution framework specifically represents that we are prerequisite to effective topic discussion because we investigate structures that make these areas illegal in the first place. And the relationships that constitute that criminality. In turn, fugitivity is good. Dylan 13 says that we need to run away from racist institutions whenever possible. In this round, we should steal away from the topic to have a more important debate about prison systems that underlies the impact is our Davidson Rodriguez evidence. This is a better form of politics that enables free thought, deconstructs racism, sexism, and other codifications of difference and counter-interpretation. Affirmative, so you see it as a way of reflecting on the resolution. Our entire argument is about that we as a community have failed to center discussions about the prison industrial complex, rejecting criminality of marijuana, PIS, prostitution, organizations, non-like families in the direction of all topic literature. Is obviously a core question made by the topic preserves, core negative ground like critique links and links to topic just as they just have approved by abolitionists would entail legalization, which is a pretty low bar for them. This is CETA. If they are not ready, it is not our fault. Role of the judges to evaluate the flow and provide a safe space for debaters. Judge intervention kills this activity, taking debate away from debaters. A framing issue for their impacts. Nebulous impacts like fairness and stasis do not exist. They are possible to universalize between instances of reflective commitment to a particular ontology. B, switch side doesn't have a team to spring framework or impact on the alternative styles have plot to debate yet, nor has class or education been sacrificed. C, no impact, actually, yeah. And on their interpretation, we are impacting, turning legalized interpretation. David Snow trace that we have to direct the conversation away from legalizing specific crime or the prison industrial complex will go unquestioned in terms and outweighs because the impact is immediate. Their interpretation reinforces the prison industrial complex because it blocks out our conversation. You are choosing to ethically support structural racism through your allegiance to its redeemability and conditionality. Hold them to their advocacy. They have advocated for violent moral debate. They don't get to keep this shit. If violence against debaters is important to you as a person in a pedagogical role and position, do not let this slide. It's the same thing as over here in group of white debaters using slurs and walking away. Non-team version of preempting this year. No team version of the app. They shouldn't get one in the 2NC because it's effectively text only 2NC counterplay. That destroys 2NC strategy and sucks up all of our outputs. A, fugitivity determines this. I've done that work above. B, a topical app cannot reject the topic. It is thus incoherent. C, legitimacy. DA, legalizing all topic areas presupposes the carceral system be justified. Rodriguez and 10 says we have to reorient our pedagogy around the prison industrial complex, the one that fundamentally challenges it. And D, footnote to the A. T version of the F is incoherent because it should focus from abolitionist pedagogy to whoever the T version of the F legalizes. Me, abolitionist pedagogy becomes a race within the broader discussion of the topic. Seriously, do you think tuning to talk about prisons if we didn't make them? An E, criminalization DA. Their call for a T
B version of the act. It's the logic of white supremacy. Y'all should just be like us. And it's better. Same logic as whites telling blacks that they didn't want to be treated like criminals. They shouldn't act like criminals. And performing an enactment of punishment, voting negative, will never rehabilitate us. It just gives the illusion of fixing a bad debate. On the predictability. Lol. For fugitive returns of predictability. 2. Lit text abuse. They ran specific arguments on the case flow and have a specific link on the cap flow. 4. For the 3. Caseless checks. This app has been up since the beginning of the Texas swings. There are numerous numbers of apps that are here that are prison abolition. Not our fault that you did not research our app. 4. Unpredictability. Good. Universal standards. Restore transformative education and agencies. Black Earth 3. 3. Political donuts. Agency. Price law scores. The regular scores inside the global analysis. Difference only here. The contradictions. We try for universal standard of reference. Framings. All way of ordering against all of the other forms of revealing which not rely on revealing alone and on their decision-making case. That's a straight term to this, their decision-making. That doesn't question the foundation of the prison industrial complex. Davis overseas says that even the anti-death penalty campaign only expanded the prison industrial complex with life sentences because it failed to challenge it holistically. It means that their decision-making is insufficient at best. And on reasonability, you don't evaluate competing interpretations. Fault reasonability. Voting against us is a big penalty. They should have to win today. We have made debating impossible and infinitely aggressive. So long as we don't follow their interpretations of the T, they will always find some small distinction to limit us out. Go to the cap cave. 1. Abolition pedagogy. 4. Practice. 3 reasons. First, prisons that way extend ground and valid. Prisons are the linchpin of global system of oppression. The racist policy of the police state is the enforcement mechanism of vile politics and imperial fuckery that must be undermined for any peaceful world in motion. And second, their prison can't explain the entirety of the act, specifically the brutality of racial violence. Prisons were solely about economics, and poor which we looked up the same rates as persons of color, which we know isn't true. A third, white supremacy is constituted by 3 unrelated but distinct pillars. Capitalism is only part of one of those pillars, but abolitionist pedagogy interacts with and better explains all 3. The alt alone makes the perfect enemy of the good. This is Smith in 06. The white supremacy is constituted by separate distinct pillars, but separate and distinct but no related logics of which 3 pillars of label slavery, capitalism, and other genocide, colonialism, the last Orientalism, War 1, the logic of slavery through prison industrial complex, the anger of capitalism, keep capitalism system place like real price, so hard to do. Tell people as long as you're not black, you have opportunity. Prison industrial complex, incarcerates communities of color, primarily population of the 13 million banned slavery, except for the prison people who have been the property of slave owners became slave property, and we can look at criminalization of blackness and logical distinction of blackness and property. Second, is genocide holds that indigenous people must disappear. It's okay to take land because indigenous people have disappeared. Third, to make certain that people as superior opposing the concentrated the well-being of the empire. One was to justify the anchor report because it allows for the U.S. to justify concentrated war. The United States, not a war. The United States is war. One son, we may misunderstand race by simplistically try to explain one logical white supremacy within our particular pillars. To try to organizing must be premised on strategic alliances based on where we are situated within the larger political economy. This way, our alliances would not be solely based on terrific victimization, where we are complicit in the victimization of others, cut that card of others, and framework. The app comes first. There's no explanation of how the affirmative functions within this space where we have taken time to explain the predatory pedagogy that we should be conducting while doing this activity. And burn to both the abolitionist pedagogy is limited to the prison industrial complex, an experimental and creative pedagogy that is essential for undoing capitalism and other hierarchical relations.
If there was a piece of legislation that shut down the prison industrial complex, would that not be sufficient?
No, because you do not answer the ontology and epistemology part of the app that talks about how the prison industrial complex is not just a physical site, but rather a mode of thinking, a way of looking at the world. This is why we have criminalization continually pop back up, regardless of what the liberal reformist left has done against the prison industrial complex. This is why legalizing marijuana is not enough, because legalizing marijuana just gives the state another way to say that black and brown people have just done something wrong, and they thus can tax and lock them away for.
So the eventuality of, I guess, the change mindset that results from your pedagogy can't result in a legislation that shuts down the prison industrial complex.
That's no.
How else would it be dissolved, I suppose?
Okay, so we are not saying taking a stance that take a legislation that shuts down the prison is bad. We are not saying that. We are saying that is fundamentally not enough, because it does not answer the ontology and epistemology that made that prison industrial complex exist in the first place, because people are not just criminalized and like thrown in prison. They're like people are criminalized and exploited beyond.
So what in the 1AC do you flag as like the underlying justification of the industrial complex?
That's the underlying.
What do you like pin as the underlying justification?
Our Davis evidence that's actually our Davis evidence, our Davis Note 3 evidence is pretty good about saying that that's the wrong mode of thinking, right? There are several relations that constitute the prison industrial complex that we have to
Let me jump in. You say the reason that the affirmative is a prerequisite is because you challenge the underlying ontology and epistemology. Okay, what is that ontology and epistemology for challenging?
Again, that Rodriguez card is pretty hot. It says that those ontologies, a list of some of them would be like racial colonialism, black racism, capitalism. It talks about how those are the things that are more responsible for the way the prison functions than the prison being there to be able to protect us from violence.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so you talk about, so your pedagogy requires like teaching. So is the person who is, I guess, taking on this pedagogy, is their ability to, I guess, be prepared against what you're, prepared for what you're going to say part of their like learning process? I'm not understanding how your unpredictably good argument ties into like it being a good pedagogy.
That argument is saying that like predictability and okay, so this is like, yes, there are, so two things here. First, finding truth does not come from like a set of standards that was this target card is talking about, right? But like also when in the search of truth, we cannot have limits, i.e. so in the context of this round, unpredictability is good because in the real world, like universal standards and like rules destroy our ability to be creative.
You're all taking from.
Yep. Okay.
Yup, 8:40.
Constructive.
All right, stop up. Okay, I'll be on 440.
I'm just gonna jump it just because, you know,
That's fair.
emails and stuff. Yeah, but I'm sure it's right now. Okay, no, I'm gonna be bold and try to get it. I'm sorry. It's gonna be framework with an overview. Just gotta send that. There we go.
Is it being honest?
No, it's email. Do you need to put it in the Dropbox?
No, it's okay. It'll come eventually. No, you should put it in the office.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, I got three parts.
Yeah, it starts with like the super.
Okay, I think that's a doc. I gave her.
I got it.
Okay, I mean,
But the correct twin C doc starts with the Sudoku card with like our communication.
3 cards?
Huh?
3 cards in there? How about it was? Yeah, that's that. Okay. Ready?
The role of the ballot is to endorse the team that whose bundle debate is the best political strategy. We're not reading some stupid topicality/super jargon. We are not saying that the big community should ostracize you and vote against you because you swear to your parents' jurisdiction under those jargon terms that imply you are cast out the community. Our argument here is that there are advantages and disadvantages to changing the question and method of the debate from a resolution to something different. We are presenting the disadvantages to this approach to debate, but it is not the same thing as asking the judge to vote against you. As a theory, we believe at the end of the debate, the impact is to be delivered to our people, turning that way your affirmative case. I would love to talk about racist by racist grandmother, but honestly, we can have a debate some holidays and they have about how much school works. They literally just watch your choice, but allow the chance to have any input in the way. They excuse the debate. Now, at the end of the day, if you think the affirmative would have been a really tight counter for the negative, then you should vote negative, arbitrarily shift the questions to a negative strategy in order to unflank the bench by exploding limits to killing garbage independently turns the case. It's a prerequisite to build political debate, which is something I think one of their political actors would agree is good. Their interpretation of the debate, which they don't get, their debate, I'll get to later, is supposed to make preventing the debate where we actually have a good discussion about the interpretation of the art and the argument that the affirmative should present a predictable plan of action to defend that policy should be adopted by the U.S. government. Now they say that their interpretation is bad, that it's a punishment already explained above, explained about why our interpretation is good. Now, also they say they correct to the topic, but no, you can just do both. I'll get that more to teamwork to debate about no reason why their Bush's predicate, which is not defending an endpoint, should be any sort of arbitrary question. It's like presenting half of what AC to take would have because the common version would be the full thing and that'd be bad. Now, our argument is that the next round, good, but the deal evidence is that this kind of survival strategies will impact your circuit and academics. This is when we had the privilege to discuss issues such as legalization of marijuana and all such a topic as you should opt to the full interpretation debate. Now, one will be a lot of why that is the most productive version of debate, including education, things like that. Now, next interpretation, you see that for reflection of one, it's the question of like which is best model debate, not which the best model for this individual tournament is. Obviously, reading this contradiction makes the debate worse because no one else has decided to use that as a time for reflection. Some people have decided to just come here and have fun and learn and the fact that he hit analysis is a reason you probably should read a word that is at least tangentially related to these topic mechanisms because it makes it impossible for them to keep up because when they had nothing to say to your affirmative. That the next representatives of all the judges to flow debate and here to say no shit. The topic should be firmly down allows this. It's not mutually exclusive. The reason on the other kind of interpret debate, the topic. The reason the topic is focused on criminality, it's a question of how we fight that criminality. When you provide no method, we say there is a method, legalize, solve better. Next argument. They say fairness, don't exist. First, maybe it's well too. That's a part of the debate. There's a small school discount. I've accepted the bomb also. People small schools and people not students are unique disadvantage because they're how you saw the tropes of the debate, kind of the shorthand jargon, which is unique disadvantage of the debate. Who made that worse? Reading affirmative that does not been a abolition of person's words, which you're getting credit for. It's pretty ridiculous that they get to say, hey, you know what we should do? We should vote AF because prisons are bad. And then we ask them, hey, will you defend the method of prisons or getting rid of prisons? They say no. It's cheating. Next. They say no, they say switch side doesn't happen. Don't think we're not going to switch side argument, rather which you should focus on debate and conclude illegal form is a good method. The next one is no kind of fairness, that's above. Now the next one is their impact with the T legal. They're going to the T version of the app. Cal version of the app solves all of this as Cal version of Holland's for having fantastic app in defense of legalization of marijuana while using it as a certain to end high massive incarceration which solves, or rather prison abolition which solves the app better than they do. If they are pedagogy for the classroom, they are a bad one. Those classrooms will tell when a teacher will tell you the answer to a question and not tell you how to get to argument. This is a dogmatism that's the absolute interpretation because they precluded the debate on prison abolition. They say, hey, the circle of the 1AC that prison abolition is going to happen, and then I'll argue that some solvency cards for that's what we're the affirmative. The communicative method of advocating drug law reform is crucial to dismantle popular stereotypes of this for broader abolitionist agenda. Drug decarceration can serve as a medium-term status in subvariant 8. Actions pursue differentiation as a child the limits of criminal diversity, the adequacy of incarceration using as artistic population, policies, and the then use of prison drugs, uniform creative incarceration warfare, medical popularization of war on drugs, the investigation which like the violence police for water abolition, refuse legitimacy, incarceration activists involved in terrorism work, and healthy involved in public relations and imprisonment, the prisoner just action committee found one of reasons campaign multi-racial collaboration activists using student organizing campaign finding popular education on justice with exercise popular participation, mobile self-help, conservative pressure on the federal government, grassroots multiracial prison activists, youth movement, race, public awareness, activities, creative opportunity, building blocks for abolition, practical action, problems, successful and social based long-term transformation to contemporary prison abolition, challenging legitimacy, but queer prison outcome, mutual component, the group supports the state power, the abolition vision, maybe this model today, represent how we want to live in the future, means developing practical strategy, taking that small steps out, we make further arguments real that each average person, we may eradicate from means living the vision of this vision of our daily lives, the abolition, practical transformation, people conscious, and they live in a world where prison is possible, second, practical to oppose the industrial complex, making abolition more, to go to the practice for long-term goal, and marijuana focus is key, different movements is state 14. Marijuana possession, custody, atheist, and drug labor, electric war, drugs, creating harmony, the individual groups, self-standing advocates, communities, with support, social structural activists, coalition partners, reform marijuana being trained for new generation, literature, the Christian law, all mass restoration, social black people, isolation, black people, and allies for long night for voter mobilization, people from the groups out there, reach out political parties, political law, empowerment, criminalization, rights for democracy, collaboration, grassroots and ordinary people, changing things, conscious people, those will eventually come around, marijuana being things reform is there, extracting performance, really passive person, digital trends of facing America now, the states today, now their interpretation includes engagement because they have changed the point of states away from the debate from the resolution question of getting government action by asserting a new question. They are cited repeating evidence indicates that the stasis is key because of both sides of engagement judgment proposition, i.e. the resolution. Now you can say extending one C, one subpoint C does not matter the government's style or the resolution be the center of one of the debate between not only their also they're conceding that institutional focus is good. A piece of move evidence indicates that if government politics requires to be challenged state on specific issues in the matter fundamentally also sees that power relations withdrawal as critique, i.e. the affirmative C, the political to right wing, which uses the power of the state to this threat. After question who is also in terms, now the next one is that conditionality. How didn't ask concepts. First of all, their one to this argument is that listen, topicality isn't the word. Let's not pretend it is. Next one. No total person from the affirmative. They say that 20 counterplan no, there's no use. I specifically said the concept we have total person affirmative focus on marijuana resolution. You know, you can prove the legitimacy of putting this as the G version solved because the focus is the endpoint of the abolition, which is better than the affirmative. It actually involved a debate, which we can defend the endpoint of abolition, whether that actually would work the good mold. And even if that's not, another reason why that integration would be good because it also provides a good ground because it starts with the point of marijuana legalization. Solve that color disaster for why the topic would preclude us from doing that, and actually have the solvency mechanism which can be debated. And myself work closed. Please get my 2 Next term is criminalization is that now do not insult me by saying that reading T is the same as my president. I am studying 3 years of prison. It's obviously metaphor is but really more about you cross by the overview. We're not criminalizing you for anything, we're rather giving disadvantages to your pedagogy. Next term is Jimmy, that's like we've done that about they say lit checks, but the resolution in terms of literature, yes, the literature exists and I'll do that evolution, but it's not something that's predictable for the negative because the affirmative shouldn't be about to they don't be able to use it. We should be a negative counterpoint, which would be what solve all of their arguments because we just read it on the negative, which means we can have a debate about legalization versus counterpoint, which would actually be clash worthy. Next, I the case was there are 127 teams with multiple affirmatives being. Yes, there are a bunch of teams, but listen, make it structurally impossible. No one actually prepares case next or CETA. Everyone just has hybrid generics and they hope for the best. Unfortunately, teams like K-State tends to say, hey, let's reject prisons and then not defend the actual rejected prisons. They sound predictably good. I don't understand this. Evidence is not a constant debate there. Evidence is not assumed. States function or states are which way to prefer or some really it's not a decision-making debate now. The decision-making now. Don't understand the argument. You should give me a leeway to explain this. But as far as I can tell, they preclude any in-depth discussion on the endpoint of their method or what that would mean. In fact, the 1AC has nothing more than say, we endorse a pedagogy and said that racism exists. That is not a reason to vote affirmative. That does not meet a threshold for seat debate. Now, the next argument is the counter-interpretation would also, their counter-interpretation is the reason why judge intervention, which is the anti-flattery dissent, would be worse, because it would allow arbitrary acts like the affirmative to do so.
Okay, you got it covered. All right. Yeah, so we know it's on.
That's cool.
Yeah, mine is blank.
That's fine. All right, 20 seconds. Wow. 2 minutes, he's gone. They're completing an independent reason. The handcuff evidence indicates that role playing is good at context the app because it allows us to imagine what we would do if we had the hands of levers of power, which informs our, when we go out and leave this debate space, would be good. Aaron, you possibly do some stuff.
Okay, so did you get it? I did not.
I crashed.
Is it gone now?
Yeah, it's going down.
I can read that.
That's cool. We'll figure it out. Apply it. Don't worry about it. All right, ready? Just read. Oh, let me take some real quick. Just read the details.
On the, it's in your personal.
No, it's in the like procedurals. It's under, it's in Twin C blocks.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, that was 10 used. I believe you had us at 440, so we're at 430 now.
Yep. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start. First question. At the point where in your speech you admit you came to this tournament without ever having the intention to like argue specifics of anyone's case, why does it matter if you don't have specific arguments?
Go to 2NC. The argument is that we came to do.
The argument, to quote the 2NC, was everyone comes to CETA with super generic arguments and hopes for the best.
Let's contextualize that. Your argument is that the case was checked. Yes, the cases of 127 separate individual teams with individual apps. I don't think that's a fair burden to hold us to.
In the broader context of the framework debate, at the point where the 2N on the medic says that you came prepared to debate generics, and that was the point. Why does it matter that you only have generics?
You can spin all you want. The argument was, I think you're like taking words and twisting the context of the words. I think the argument was that in the context of the resolution, it is possible to go to a tournament with 127 teams because more or less teams are going to be reading one of the 5 topic areas which we have specific arguments for. When you do something that comes out of left field, like prison abolition on the affirmative, that's obviously problematic because it prevents us from engaging in the discussion that would otherwise been had.
All right.
You good? Okay. You say that our counter interpretation is bad because novices can't keep up. Why?
No, let's talk about your counter interpretation says. It says you see it as a time for reflection, etc. That's not a good model for debate. We made reasons. First of all, there's 127 teams. Not everyone has decided to use this as a time for reflection.
Yeah, but I don't really care about
debate.
I don't really care about all the other teams.
That's kind of the problem. That's kind of the problem.
Your model for debate teams in this room, right? So why is that counter interpretation bad for this model of debate inside of this room?
Well, because you have precluded us from substantively engaging.
So for the offense that you're garnering,
we've also like have a couple of benefits which we're answering through.
All right, on the top of the 2NC, you had a roll of ballot. What was your roll of ballot?
The roll of ballot, I don't have it in front of me because my thing got close, but it was something along the lines of best endorsed the team with the best political strategy.
Best political strategy. And what was the dogmatism this at?
The dogmatism this at that was a long argument. Hold on. If you want to ask another question, I'll come back to you and I'll give it to you, and we will.
Okay, so I have one question. At the point where the entirety of the framework is framed as a methods debate, that we can use the law to be able to resolve the problem of the prisons, and the app is bad for not doing so, have you yet to read a single card that says that is possible?
We write 2 solvency cards on the question of
about prisons?
Yeah, they're both in the context of prison abolition, in fact. And also the dogmatism dissent was the teacher analogy. It's like your app literally says,
so you have 2
here's the answer to
cards.
the
So
question.
you have, okay, so
you have cards in the context of prison abolition, but you're not prepared for this debate.
Yeah, I had to take cards off like Calvert's app.
So what is the
which is in the context of marijuana legalization, like that's the app.
What's the bright line for negative ground?
You legalize one of the 5 topic areas.
Okay, all right, and okay, fantastic.
So did you catch dogmatism dissent?
No, I didn't.
We won't take that next time I not crash. Basically, argument is the teacher analogy. Like you have answered the question for us, not long as.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go.
Strategic.
Okay, good.
Can't believe I just used that phrase.
Where's the candle?
Just strategic, do it.
For his birthday or whatever, I got him like a prayer candle. It's just
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Zizek is absolutely the worst scholar in this activity. I'm talking to you, Kyle. Please read that K. But what are,
I'm gonna email you the.
Yeah, my entire chance he just disappeared.
I'm gonna finish off with framework and a case. Oh, framework cap case.
It stayed here 2 days, please, Brian.
What? Recovered for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks
None of my
recovered.
fault.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, the one thing you do.
I've been trying back.
So framework cap case.
The only ethical position is to provide a statement of specific demands withdrawal only serves to legitimize state control and consequent decisions. These are 7. Today's little dramatic street system, going to which means purchase and every day, something like you covering projects, Caesar's the defense man, CB, the example is something from the mental and social flow, the news to barbarian powers to keep all this is like precisely final against can be met the same excuse onto the cap. Concede that this capital, the alternative is not pedagogy, extending the capitalism itself to the prison, and concede that prisons and concede that prisons are not solely about econ and all case. They say apology first, but problem-solving theory is necessary for addressing tangible violence. Jarvis 2K. Suppose problem-solving theory is not necessary back and forth position, obviously problem-solving and eventualizing and confronting the acid theories. What person uses or questions questions system equal better and sensitive to make for problem. Another is just written and postal fuel course fills in part but marginalized. And these deliberate erasure of the Latina and Latino experience in the guts absolutely because they don't take into account the incarceration Latinos uniquely face as a result of immigration laws, coalition and accessibility are important to advocacy, but connections between the Latino experience and other questions required to reveal the underlying relationships that create the prison industrial complex and take it apart means no absolvency. They talk about analyzing these underlying relationships, but the 1AC doesn't make any analysis of these actual relationships. They do not flag the underlying justifications. They talk that before the prison industrial complex and thus glosses over the lived experience of those who suffer at the hands of the system. Latina experience is just footnoted as just another example of incarceration they reject means that the pedagogy is bad. It's only our framework access the ability to take account the way immigration laws in particular is used to oppress Latinos. That benefits our interpretation because we are able to talk about specific instances and points of change within the rejection of the prison system. They still say mass incarceration is bad, but we are saying that there is advocacy's refusal to acknowledge this, and the 1AC is just like glossing over of it, and that's our Kilgore 13 evidence. And the search for achieving an ethical existence leaves an unwillingness to seize power, only shifts legal power from the right to refusal to engage in a state. This goes conceded to ACB and the judge leave the room feeling as if we've done enough. This feeling of sanitation leads to political disengagement and leaving the last people we want in charge of creating this legislation that only makes the prison industrial complex stronger. That's our Q10 evidence. And they say that they have shown instances of liberal reform cannot work out. It's still bad for blacks in prison and everyone else, but there can still be legalization that can still close prisons and other legalizations. Other acts of legislation that can turn back the legislation that has already existed and created these institutions. And it's not a question of whether it's getting better, but whether it has a transformative potential to be able to. And a judge can say that a piece of legislation closing the prisons is good, it means their advocacy is flawed. And incarceration still remains a political affair that was created out of legislation, only considering the legal nuances of racial politics can reverse and challenge white racism, and that's our only 13 evidence. Also, our channelers have lock and shape thought and how people believe what is legal and how they view criminality, what it means using legalization or legislation as a means of working this back and change how people view this in their psyche and also change how they view criminality means that this is a prerequisite to their advocacy. And our Chandler 7 evidence talks about how individualized politics that provide only a laundry list of oppressions, and what Chandler calls post-territorial politics isn't as effective as engaging politically inside society. The reason the messed up prison industrial complex exists because because those who are charged of rank versus solutions still operate under white supremacy. We believe formal engagement in politics still with a focus on resisting criminality and rejection of the three pillars that hold up the industrial complex. As for the Smith's six evidence that they read on capitalism, slavery, genocide, colonialism, Orientalism, and war, is a better method of pedagogy. Their framework only focuses on the individual ethics. How is that a good pedagogy for teaching? And participation on the academy only results in return to the social debt. Anonymous 10. University of Michigan with progressive states and parties for pieces of the track and retail military corporate research and white planning social conditioning agreement in the walls, which was intended to change the constitution of privilege, Wisconsin license and intensive negotiation and research in the third world, the most owners of species that are devil health and in death destruction, social death is a manual since the institution being unlike meaning, refusal of empathy, benefit of autonomy, by extending to excel in university setting, resigning social and bullying, a said cemetery and accomplished around the other end. The university is already dead. This isn't a site resistance where reformism fails. You see that. Slogans such as safety, you see demorals, and defend public education and proliferated approaches that kind of politics boundaries of being certainly of long-term use defenders as long as in denial of unconditionally. This is into reality, therefore incapable of finding the live and wandering in the days of things or formal lives. From so that the defense of the University of promoting soccer politics, we recognize the cause of the deaths of California physical practice and dual disaster and a fully global ecological social crisis and not only the material and political grounds of public university and all dominant institutions, California economic systems, defend and call question and possibility of future system organizing and natural basic goals. You see that but fishing institution engagement life and democracy. You see the fact that you contribute is still person to be faith expected. You see when we return to ideal eras and should expect a single institution built by bodily a single economy that dependent to student and years and real ambitions will not be permanent, all self-deluding grandeur. And
You gotta
go for it. Okay, go for it. Now the interpretation is key to teaching students how to speak the language of policymakers and what is development evidence indicates that the academia is ready for the retreat in the ivory tower. The result is a trade-off of progressive politics and reactionaries gaining up the voice of the public that very fill the void and leads to wars in the Middle East. Being able to translate political demands into one that can be understood by policymakers is the only way to resist the real violence of the status quo and keep the public involved because most of them haven't read Dolores die, but they do understand how a ballot box works. And the university has been called about interest in back onto this. Radical change means looking to an unsustainable system of violence. You've seen that. If you had a university, so it would be in the conference of the empire, would defend all of our responsibility to know the center store will stay on the conference privileges that are connected to system. Versus the radical change use funding for the text to recognize that a fundamental one we face attention to fixing on media problems, leading to long switches to the dead politics of destroying our stubbornly unstable reasonable planetary class. And demands of the state not exclude groups doesn't reaffirm the legitimacy of the state. Individual demands can call into question the legitimacy of the state new intent. Making mental states because the damage to criminal policy is based on social community demands of working state reform producing demands for position of political order. And I see the question of implementation, the common question of legitimacy by having inconsistencies and systems matter most. Darcy's 14. The emphasis in localization for the emphasis of individual actions we can do it after the decolonialism can be so long for some time.
So before we start prep, can I go use the restroom real quick? I just got to do that. We'll just keep
I'm
our
gonna
hands
do
on
the
it.
same thing. Violet. Yeah, that's
And
that's why they don't watch the YouTube stream.
We'll be back.
Might as well run to the restroom too.
Texting your better
I wonder if he's watching this.
So we have 7:59.
We got 4:30.
We're right.
Oh, the usual, yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering, oh.
Yeah. Me too. You want me to just send it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Fun.
much do you have?
I'm stopping it. I have 257. Oh, the order's gonna be case friends.
Hearts? I affirm that. I affirm that.
Oh, yeah.
I just give people cards, don't read them.
Yeah, for you.
I read cards. I read cards when it's the same way every time. Really? Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's a legendary.
I think no, I was trying to
First,
didn't
this
give
is
it 2
the
weeks,
first
so
one.
I'm losing cards.
We're prepped against it now.
The jackal. We were prepped against it, we just didn't handle it correctly.
Okay. Is anyone not ready?
Close with briefly.
I'm going case in front. Okay. Anyone? All right. Okay. Let's go.
I don't think that they have much going for them on the case arguments. I'm going to go straight to the line because of this first argument, the daytime mix, the Jarvis two evidence that says that problem solving is key. But, or do you think that the spouse house and sex evidence that violates the choice here in each problem solving because ontologies cover they necessarily structure the way that we consider problem solving means that even if we're able to get the problem solving that the resolution gives us, the prisons are back to the 5% of top areas, and we have to be able to get rid of it. It just shows the ontology of the prison is able to stay there next. It's the master arguments. I think they have to do about problem at the point where they don't extend the coalition argument, which is the solvency for the term means they can't be able to go for this without also winning framework. Extended process back to the affirmative, solves back by being able to add for mass incarceration. There's no explanation of why this isn't true. And lastly, and super important, there's no link. There's no link. They have not been able to take less away that we have mass, the violence of the Latinos in the system. Next, they get better arguments. They say that it's all these things getting better. It's just about proving there's a possibility of future change. Well, I think that you're behind the debate of proving there's a possibility of future change. You can be able to accept the David 17 that talks about how the death penalty campaign only is trying to the prison board. You can extend the Rodriguez evidence that talks about how the prison system will only ever work. You'll be able to have an ableist functionality, regardless of how it's able to be changed. They have no specific answers to any of these arguments. Means they shouldn't be able to frame a debate either. They next time people read the university scale. Okay. But one, holy shit, Robbie, you have to protect me that you just read a brand new thing to 1 hour. I think that you should have a ridiculously high threshold for voting on this sort of argument. It's hella abuse. It makes it impossible for the 1 AR, basically going in there, never have a breaks game. And 2 is the university case links back to the fact that they have no explanation of why they don't necessarily link back into themselves when they read framework arguments. That a framework argument about how our politics will suddenly be able to spill out of the room. If the university is deciding social death, or it's not, and sounds just that we are the weird academics academics have a privileged position of being in the university and being able to talk about the prison without actually being able to talk about the prison means that just by showing the ivory tower doors on the prisoner doesn't solve jack shit. It just makes us neck worse.
Alright, on frame.
I think that they dropped a few arguments that I think are important. First things that across the future technique, we have to be able to run away from churches to be able to understand them and fight back because of that. Was the field evidence of what I see the Brian Cross apply this, they have no answers. This means that we're always already ahead on the education thing because fugitivity is a key method of being able to learn about anything. That means if we win a risk of education, now way in fairness, then we automatically lose the paper. I'll do that work later down below. Online. First, I want you to be able to send across our counter-interpretation to CETA. Turn CETA as the people turn into we. Should be able to use this time to reflect back on the resolution. Based things like R1AC uniquely important. The only answer to this is saying that the only answer to this is saying CETA is about fun and learning. But if you want CETA is about fun and learning, but we can have fun and learn and still be able to meet our counter-interpretation. There's no explicit answer on why that isn't possible. Either way, our interpretation solves back. You've had all year to have a policy education you think is so damn important. Why has it not solved back yet? Next thing, they try to make a roll the ballot, or they say the roll the ballot is the lowest of the best political strategy to get to the point where they aren't actually able to win the question that we can reform the prisons in a positive way, means that they're losing their own roll the ballot. But either way, roll the ballots or bad. You shouldn't allow payers to write and bring their own tax upon them and break the game. Next, they try to be able to say that no, they're trying to be be able to say that this is next. I want you to consider across the prison guards argument. They have instituted, they know the prison guards trying to be able to plead what are the conversations that are adequate to have in the debate space or not. Using a punishment paradigm for people, of course, the only answer is saying that they're on the prison guard, that all they actually really want to do is just be able to show disadvantages to our method. If that were true, that you wouldn't have taxed, you wouldn't have this framework, you could have read it all on case. You could have gone for the campaign that was functionally given to you going into the plot. But no, you chose a bunch of means that people in independent offense against the voting votes, putting us down for next. They try to be next Instagram people say, next thing trying to get see the switch side solve, but they drop there because the broadcast see this their teams never switch sides. It doesn't actually have the practical actuality. It means that they don't have their voting stuff framework does not solve any of the office they're trying to people talk about. Next is the topical version. I think this is pretty tough for them to be able to win a topical version. But Brian forgets the 2AC saying they should be allowed to do topical version because it's functionally creating a brand new counterpart in the plot that whatever to prepare for means that you probably need. The fourth thing of reading topical version without answering this needs to have a high threshold fluency for E. Third way, across the flex, you sticky, you have to be able to run from the resolution to be able to understand its means that we solve that better in the topical version. Don't let them win our arguments. Also, a center cross that's in the footnote just have they way if we have the four people having conversations about the prisons. If we just said we can start with we and then move forward to talking to the prison, we would just have to do the policies to that all the time. On the impact level. They are going to go for the framework as a method is able to solve, but I've already done the work on how they have their method is ineffective in solving specifically the prison. The only impacts they have outside of that are their stasis argument. They don't have an impact coming out of the clock. I'm assuming it was fairness. I'm assuming there was fairness. And I was assuming it was fairness. Fairness, they need to drop the impact from your argument. Fairness is not an added. Fairness is two mechanisms of impact to be able to calculate. You see how this either way. There is no impact of fairness. People do not play the paid because it's fair. They do it because it is an educational experience. You know what is fun checker. You know what is fair checkers. You know what is not actually that no one gives a shit about checkers. Just another reason why if we win that we have better education, we should win this round. Extend across the argument, extend across the fact that the affirmative is a prerequisite to any of the decision-making argument or topical engagement. Only when we understand the full history of the prisons can we be able to come back. That's where all the reformists has been able to fail. We're going to be able to explain that. Next, extend across our impact to that. Also extend across our impact towards the legalization. That is functionally the entirety of what I see. On conditionality, extend that here as well. Hold them to that because no answer saying we didn't see the end of it. If we win, the prison guards argument is a reason to vote you down. You have no answers on predictability outside of the check. You drop 4. So, all right, 4:30 left. Yep.
Team case. Okay.
Key first.
Oh, is it done?
Yeah.
No, let's just do it. How much better is it?
13%.
Can I get a shirt and get it?
It's not gonna die.
No. That's fine. I have 20%. We'll be fine. Okay, cool. And we're not running. Okay.
Our interpretations, if you must utilize one of the 5 topic areas, the U.S. federal government defend that endpoint of business, that's a business dictionary, Erickson Evidence, and the 1NC. Now, there's that counter interpretation, but their counter interpretation says you see it as reflection, but this is not what it said. Says because what is the reflection? What counts as reflection? It requires the judge to simultaneously impose what is the good reflection, what is not, which is a link to all the judge intervention arguments. I will make below now how commercially outsolves. Now, first is they're not here specifically. Now, we solve using legalizing marijuana starting point abolition. Some evidence indicates that step-by-step process by using like targeting prisoners with drug users who are considered to be low risk is key to the politics of the prison abolition as a prison abolition, because we're not afraid of letting loose all these criminals. They do nothing to reverse these stereotypes that have already been scripted on the people in prison, which means you will never face your pedagogy, which means it literally does nothing except actions of power for people in this room, which I'll get to more in case now are common words results better because it allows people to provide a specific communicative method for people to instead of which is a better which actually is not marijuana is also a key starting point. Our chain evidence says they can be used to train people to come together as community outreach, which forms coalitions, which they're after access because they teach any skills or the politics that leaves this room. Now, if we risk any of this in our competition results, most of the case you should go negative on even tiny listens of the districts, which all we'll do here. Now they make up. We can't resolve. Well, actually, counter interpretation explodes. That's about okay. Next one is the guy that came from prison. The Rodriguez evidence that the one actually referring to says that no prison resulting in overcrowding. Obviously, the common words of the affirmative resulted in abolition as an end because we do not look at any of the authors. They are not reading any impact to these specific common words in the affirmative that we have right now. They make a few arguments about how it's unfair, but hey, I thought that was an argument. I thought fairness wasn't a thing. I can't believe you are reading a canon that says poetry prison pedagogy is a good point. Not to defend the prison, then say, hey, the common words was unfair, especially when in cross-examination. I say, hey, do you know what you could have done? You could have legalized marijuana. You could use that to start. I don't think I could have foreshadowed that any clearer, especially when I was even trying anything. So I had to because way possible. And we also have specific results, which is hey, I guess the lit base check doesn't the case list check is counted already. That you have the answer to it, can't apply that. Your affirmative now. The next argument is that they say politics is set. I don't know why that's interesting about it. Yes, politics is set and boring, but it does provide educational issues. It keeps us out of events, which is something I haven't particularly started since I started catering. Now the next argument is the kind of fairness. That's above. Listen,
Can't go both ways. Either fairness is a thing and you should vote negative, or fairness is not a thing and topic coercion is fine. They don't have any substantive arguments as why using marijuana as an endpoint to abolition and after defend that would be a bad idea. Other than like you reform prisons, which doesn't answer argument.
Only the sense of future remember the Bureau are negative not from the 2NC. The 2NC made a very clear about how the doing evidence of the context of survival strategies and that's the timely critical cancel which our argument that because we are a point of privilege and academics, which is an argument that the 1A also makes, it means we should probably take that time to have a discussion over how specifically we can cultivate skills from model debate and hear most metrics from outside in actually work in the community and dig into the community outcomes. And I don't know how you take the 1AC as it is and go out and actually do something about the prison pedagogy. When you're going to say to them, hey, so we should do prison, we're like, no, we should just answer the question and say no when they go home from the meeting. I mean, next words, we have a few disaster methods, which means if we win even one of these and you go later, because we solve each other case now versus institutional focus, we repeat some group evidence, which does not come out of the reality when it already has challenging statements on specific issues, which gives allows us to use mechanisms of the state. Now, we have it all in the basic political data because people who use state will use the efforts to crush the revolution. Now, we're also reading an ethics with attention, which is also considered the one in our it's a GT government, so the big stick that indicates that we need to make specific demands for the state on either A, the specific demands
Get rejected, and the state looks like a complete bully because they are refusing something as simple as marijuana legalization,
Or they say yes and they legalize it, and hey, we've done something, we've actually accomplished for the nonsense. That's what you should vote negative. Also, the secret level of political arguments turning because they're getting stuck in the kind of next sort of stasis now. They shift the question debate around they shift the question debate from something that's been predetermined. We've done the whole year of anything. There has been a whole year of stuff that how probably makes gender unique this word abuse because people are expecting to comment when it comes to see about you shift the question away from that is conclusive engaging in substitute debate between computer methodologies that we could have discussed different ways to legalize marijuana and how to justify communication. It's a better debate than me having to read Tom County, which I really, really don't like reading. Now the next is the dogmatism of this, which you've also seen the dialogue and analogy. They become the teacher that shows you the answer to the problem, whatever actually teaches you how to answer the problem, which means we leave this debate space. We have a problem, we have not learned anything, we have learned that prisoners are bad. Yes, Aaron and I knew that coming in, but the question is how do we best accomplish that operationalize that ethic now? They're also saying that you need to see the discourse of policymakers are wanting to block them to make tea and pure argument with ivory tower, which is already trying to strategy we're putting to academy using jargon like ontology and epistemology, but our argument is that when that happened, the Middle East wars happened because the people who were actually committing people to the public and to people in Congress and people who were right-wing hacks who said we need to go out and save the Iraqis or save the Afghani women. Look what that did for anyone. Now the next argument is that now they make a condition out of your rebels. This isn't conditional. I won't sing everyone that there once an argument that like it makes us allows us to use white racial slurs and then walk away. That's not the they make an argument about how no one's ever switches sides. It's not about what other teams do, it's about the best model for debate. If anything, voting negative would start a movement to say, hey, this might be a good model for debate. Case. Privatization of ontology means they never get to pass the first step when people live day-to-day trying to survive. Are the individual living method of problem solving is necessary for daily survival for those marginalized in society? They're after injection of a variety of accessible methods to some limits to those who need it most. Such as Jarvis said, but it's only our favorite access to the genes that benefit now. Incarceration still remains a political affair that was created out of legislation. Only particular legal nuances of racial policy reverse the challenge white racism and absence to understand legal nuances being the legal literature. Just answer the question: why do people criminalize people who smoke marijuana? It's because the law says that that's legal. It constructs as an upwards means that only reverse law and only engaging in a method that teaches how to do that is going to actually challenge anything.
Okay, so we have 2:57 left, and we're running it.
Okay. Six.
It's gonna be half in the kernel.
You said half, not half.
Right, yeah. Two AR. I guess it's suicide. Yeah. They're gonna laugh.
You're so funny.
There's a pretty important framing issue for this debate round in the context of the affirmative and framework. That is the question of ontology. The primary question they have dropped throughout this round. Fugitivity on the framework flow is where we will deploy that. Here, they say that they have to talk about incarceration and that they ask the question, why are people criminalized for smoking pot? Is it because marijuana is illegal? No, it is because we have an ontology in this room, and we have an ontology that is supported by the topic that says black people should be criminalized. It says that the prison industrial complex and the way it responds to social issues is okay. That is what we are challenging. You do not challenge us. You legalizing marijuana does not challenge that ontology. You have dropped the fact that ontology comes first because it structures literally everything that we do. It doesn't matter if it is a policy that you were talking about or the way that you were, or the way that a debate round should go down. Ontology always comes first because this is the way that you fundamentally see things when you interact with other people. This is why their interpretation ultimately This is why their interpretation ultimately fails, because they do not address the ontology of the prison industrial complex. All of their arguments about how the law is good and how the law can do so much shit for us does not address the fact that the ontology of the prison is here. The ontology of the prison industrial complex is what says that criminalizing black and brown bodies is okay. The ontology of the prisons is what makes it so that Assad Shakur gets blamed for shooting a cop when it's in self-defense. This is why fugitivity is fundamentally necessary, because fugitivity is the only way that we can understand how that ontology works. Is that once we move ourselves away from the epistemology and the ontology of these racist institutions, i.e. in the context of debate, the topic, once we move away from those ontologies, that we begin to understand how that ontology functions, what the ontology of what the ontology of the topic is. This is why our counter interpretation is fundamentally better than theirs, because our counter interpretation addresses this issue. It is what is the ontology and the epistemology behind the resolution. This is why our counter interpretation is that the CETA is a specific site that is best for stepping back and reflecting upon the topic, because it is the last tournament of the year. They on T-verse, they say that marijuana is the best starting point, but I've already answered why marijuana legalization is not the best starting point, but also addressing marijuana never gets to the fundamental question, which is the prison industrial complex. They say that the forming of coalitions means that no politics leaves this room. If no politics leaves this room, the only thing that is important is the ontology and epistemologies are forefront in this room. That means that all of their arguments about what debaters do about like predictability and clash and all that bullshit doesn't matter, because those impacts are out of round impacts. They try to turn fairness on us, but that word fairness argument in the 1AR was about the fact that you dropped a university K in the 1AR, a brand new argument that had nothing to do with anything that you had said before. That is nothing about framework.
And key is, we didn't say fairness, you should lose the round. We said that Robbie should have a high threshold for voting on arguments that weren't developed.
Yeah, also, we didn't say you should lose the round, i.e. Not a punishment paradigm. You are the ones that said that we have done a bad debate and we have like made it y'all unable to debate us and engage with us, and y'all are the ones that are doing the punishment paradigm. Also, on the
on condo, okay, this is simply game argument over. Our argument here is that they should be held to the model of debate that they advocate. They only respond with no impact, but it's been prison guards. 2-0 drop the prison guard argument. They advocate for a violent form of debate through the framework of using a punishment paradigm for people who don't meet their interpretation. This was an active choice. They could have read this is a method this had on case where they just could have gone with cap. They literally haven't answered an independent reason to vote them down. This entire debate extend our role of the judge argument. Your judge is to follow the flow and provide a safe space. Is the only argument that we need to win in the round. More on the line by line. They say, well, they say the law marks bodies as criminals, so it's reversible. Look, the point here is that is a lot. The point is that's arguments that address the ontology is what marks people as criminal. Is not it is not the loss of law. Doesn't solve back from this. Furthermore, they say that that is more accessible. Cross applies silence and DA from case. We have a privileged position to talk about privilege, and we should we should not shut out the ivory tower. They say on switch side debate that it is the best model of debate, and it's not about other teams. Our argument about how other teams do not follow switch side debate is an argument that implicates your model of debate. Because guess what? Our model of debate is not one that is being done currently. Yours is. And guess who's not following the current model of debate? Other teams. I.e., your argument is empirically proven to not be true. You say on the stasis argument that we are moving the topic around, but our counter interpretation still takes into context the resolution. You say dogmatism, but this dogmatism doesn't make any sense because our articulation of abolitionist pedagogy in this round does not reflect the entirety of abolitionist pedagogy. Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I know you said something. I don't know. Oh my God. I can't remember. Span out the time. Word to your book.
Sure.
Read it out there.
I heard you say penalty.
Oh, everyone heard me yell penalty. Oh, God.